Plan International Nigeria, with EU support, is collaborating with SACEFA and government ministries to improve learning, especially in Tsangaya, Reformation and gender-responsive education sector planning. Also, the unveiling of training manuals for civil society organizations on gender-responsive education sector planning and Tsangaya education reformation. Clavius Florence Joshua brings us details of the event.
The federal government's Universal Basic Education Program, UBE, launched in 1999, aims to provide free, inclusive, quality education for all. However, Nigeria has the highest rate of out-of-school children, 13.2 million, accounting for 45% of out-of-school children in West Africa. To address this, the Nigerian government passed a revised national policy on gender in education in 2021, aiming to increase girls' participation through cash transfers and community engagement. However, implementation and monitoring remain significant challenges. Meanwhile, the Tsangaya education system lacks regulation and support, leaving Almajiri unprepared for the labor market. Despite effort to integrate basic education into the Tsangaya system, less than 5% of Almajiri enrolled, highlighting the need for urgent reform.
For years, the Tsangaya system has been in existence, where you have children coming into a religious setting and they're given some form of skills, educational training and other skills. But over the years, the context has somehow changed with what is happening now in the world. And so we have found out that it's a well-known fact that over the years, children that are in this Tsangaya education sector are usually always on the streets. We know them as the Almajiri's children. And then they don't have the educational qualification that's required to help them in the current context where we live. And so the idea behind it is to see how we can, as civil society organizations, advocate to the owners and the implementers of the Tsangaya educational system to see how to transform it without losing the religious value, but to also add the context of the current realities that we live in, so that these children will have basic literacy and numeracy skill along with the religious skills, so that they can better fit into the society that we live in.
The issue of out-of-school children is a collective responsibility that requires collective effort. All hands must be on deck. It has to have a holistic approach from the government, from all the stakeholders, to firstly see how we can bring about security in northwestern part of the country. By solving the insecurity issues, you're solving 50% of out-of-school children. And then we look at other factors like denial from parents, how are we going to persuade them to bring their children to school, and also funding.
The issue here should be around state governors. So we must be able to have state governors that are deeply committed in addressing the issue of out-of-school children in Nigeria. By one, putting it in their strategic plan, two, having it in their budget, and three, release the money to the commissioners and DGs for implementation, and four, have a system in place for tracking and monitoring the results. Because when you pay money, you should be able to monitor and track the performance by checking what is happening. Then five, be able to communicate the findings of their intervention.
Let's bring this Western education, instead of taking the Tsangaya students to Western education, let's bring numeracy and literacy to them. So you remain in your system, you remain in your structure. We now bring the ability to read and write to you, so that you don't only know Islamic education, but at least you are able to operate within the Nigeria system, since our lingua franca is English, and to be able to operate here, you need some level of Western education.
Nigeria's education crisis demands attention to address the gender gap, Tsangaya reform, and overall sector development for inclusive quality education.